In this video, we are going to install Ubuntu on Windows using WSL2, and once we install Ubuntu, we can access it through the command line, and not just command line, we can also access the Ubuntu Desktop using the Windows RDP client, and we'll also be able to share the access the files from the Windows into Ubuntu Desktop, as well as we will be able to transfer files between Windows and Ubuntu in a seamless way, and we are going to cover a lot more in this video, so please do watch till the end. Welcome to Pair Programming with Harish. I am Harish Kannarao. So in this video we are going to cover installing Ubuntu using WSL2 on Windows, and I have written a detailed blog post on how to install it and what are the configurations that we need. So this video is going to be a visual walkthrough of the blog that I had written, and we will go through the step-by-step installations that we need in order to set up not just Ubuntu on command line, but we will install a proper Ubuntu desktop environment, and we will be able to access the Ubuntu desktop using the Windows RDP client. So we are going to cover a lot more, and this will involve a lot of installations and using command line on terminal, both on Windows as well as in Ubuntu. So I'll share the description link about the blog post in the description. So let's get started. So before we begin with Ubuntu installation, so we have to ensure that certain Windows features are turned on. So go to start menu, search for turn Windows feature on or off, and in this list right at the bottom there are three options. One is the virtual machine platform, Windows hypervisor platform, and the Windows Subsystem for Linux. So we have to ensure that all these three features are checked, and once we click on OK, and if you are enabling it for the first time, it will prompt for a system restart, and we have to restart the Windows for this feature to turn on properly. So yeah, if you are turning it on for the first time, please make sure that you restart your Windows machine for it to properly take effect. So in my case, I have already enabled this feature. So when I click OK, nothing happens. And if you are a command line person, we can do the same thing on Windows PowerShell using these three commands and restart the machine. So in our case, we are going to proceed now. So open the PowerShell. So the first thing we have to ensure is we have the latest version of WSL, wsl.exe --update. So in my case, I have got the latest version of WSL, so there is no update. And if you do have need to update, wait for a couple of minutes. It will do the update and the command will finish successfully. And once we do it, we have to install the Ubuntu distribution. So the command is wsl.exe --install -d Ubuntu with U as uppercase at the beginning. So the command is also captured in the blog post. So depending on your internet connection, the time taken to download will vary depending on your internet connection. So please be patient and let it download and install. As you can see, the download is nearly done, and now the installation is going on. The installation is relatively fast, so only the download takes a bit of time, and this is the first time the Ubuntu is getting launched. So it will prompt for a default user to get created. So it takes the Windows user as the default one. So in my case, I'm going to change it to Ubuntu with all lowercase, and we can give a different password for the Ubuntu and retype the password. That's it. So as you can see, the user that I had typed, it's created now with my computer name, and you can also see that it is in /mount/c, which uses the same directory as my Windows. So yeah, please make a note of it, and we'll come back to it anyway. But /mnt/c is the path to access the Windows files as well. So for instance, ls command, we can see all the files from the Windows machine. And once the Ubuntu is installed, we can launch in multiple ways. My favorite option is just close the PowerShell and create a new one. All I have to do is wsl.exe. So let me first confirm if the Ubuntu distribution is available. You can see that Ubuntu is present with WSL version 2. To launch it, exe-d Ubuntu, and these commands are captured in the blog for your reference. Hit enter. Oops, yeah. And now we can see we are in the Ubuntu bash, no more in the PowerShell. So the Ubuntu is successfully installed. Now if we are free to use it on the terminal, which is fine, terminal or PowerShell, but we want to do a proper Ubuntu desktop installation. So in order to do it, first we need to update the Ubuntu and install certain packages. So let's start with updating the Ubuntu package manager. Sudo apt get update. So we need to type in the Ubuntu password. So the update has completed successfully. Now let me do the upgrade. So these commands should finish relatively quick. So the upgrade is also done now. So we are now going to do an important step to install a package called task cell. Sudo apt-get install-y task cell. So the task cell command is a very handy command which allows us to install a particular flavor of desktop environment on top of Ubuntu. So as you can see, the task cell is installed now. So I'm going to open the task cell through command line. So right now there is no GUI available for our Ubuntu. Sudo task cell. So it's a proper command line tool, and using my keyboard's up and down arrow, I'm able to move it up and down. So it offers various flavors of desktop environment. You can see GNOME, XFCE, GNOME Flashback. So my favorite desktop environment, based on what I have tested, KDE Plasma seems to be most stable one. Even if I am looking to use a dual monitor or dual screen on my Windows, KDE Plasma seems to offer the most stable desktop environment without crashing. So in order to select KDE Plasma, I navigate to the option using my up and down arrow and use the space key to make a selection. As you can see, the asterisk is selected. So the task cell allows us to install multiple desktop environment, but I highly recommend to select only one desktop environment. Otherwise the configuration gets messy and a lot of time it crashes. So instead the safe option is just install one desktop environment, which is KDE Plasma, and hit on the tab key to go to the next section to select the OK and cancel. You can see I can use my left and right arrow to navigate between OK and cancel, and I want to install the KDE Plasma. So I'm going to press on the space button to do OK. And again, this is going to install a lot of packages in order to set up the desktop environment. So depending on the internet speed or bandwidth, it will take the necessary time. So first it downloads all the packages and the files, and then it installs. So we will come to it once we have everything set up. As you can see, the file download is almost complete. Although it's the files download, it's going to take at least 4 to 5 minutes to install all the packages. So yeah, this step takes a little bit of time depending on the processing power and the hardware resources available on your machine. So once all the files are downloaded, as you can see, it's all downloaded. So it's unpacking all the libraries in order to set up a proper desktop environment, including a browser and visual text editor, so and so. For some unknown reason, it gets stuck in the installation of Firefox for a very long time. But once it's past this point of Firefox, it finishes the installation pretty quick. As you can see, once it's past the point of Firefox, the other packages seems to get installed very quick. And also I noticed that once the desktop environment is set up, for some strange reason, Firefox is not able to start properly with the remote session. But instead, if I install Chromium, I'm able to launch a Chromium browser, the open source version of Chrome, and I'm able to browse the internet within the Ubuntu Desktop. So the package installation or unpacking is almost done now. So it's 99% complete. Fingers crossed. Okay, so the sudo task cell command has been completed successfully, no errors or anything, so all okay. So I'm going to install, as I mentioned before, the Firefox doesn't work very well with the remote desktop client. So I'm going to install a browser which is Chromium. Sudo apt-get install Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome. And this downloads and gets installed relatively quick. So the Chromium installation is now complete. So now we are going to install a very important package, sudo apt-get install xrdp. So the xrdp is a standalone package in Ubuntu which allows us to connect from Windows RDP client, because it starts a service which is compliant with the RDP protocol, so that we can connect from the Windows to Ubuntu Desktop using the Windows RDP, which we will see now. So sudo apt-get install -y xrdp. So the service or the package is installed. Now we have to make some configuration changes. They are very minimal. The reason why we have to do is, by default, when the XRDP service starts, it will allow us to connect from anywhere. If we know the IP and the port, it will allow us to connect from anywhere. But with the cyber threat, it's best to lock it down and ensure that we are able to do the RDP connection only from the Windows host, not from anywhere else. In order to do it, we are going to remap it from 0.0.0.0 and restrict it only to the local host using 127.0.0.1. And likewise, we are going to bump up the port that the XRDP service uses by default. It uses the 3389, which is the Windows default. But since we are installing a virtual machine within Windows, there will be a clash, or if we use 3389, between the Windows own RDP service. To avoid it, we will restrict the address to 127.0.0.1, as well as we will bump up the port to 3390. So right now, since we don't have the GUI, we have to edit it command line. So let's go to the place, sudo nano /etc/xrdp/xrdp.ini. Once you open it, as you can see the top section where it has the port, in my case only the port is set to 3389, so I am going to change this to 3390 and set the address equals to 127.0.0.1. So in case if you already have an entry for address as address equals to 0.0.0.0, it will allow anyone to connect to this machine from anywhere. So it's best to change the existing entry, if there is one, to 127.0.0.1. So if you are new to Nano, to save this, you can see the shortcuts here: Control O to write out and Control X to exit. So Control O, give the same file name, just press enter, and Control X to exit. So this change is done, and also we also need to edit one more file, which is startwm.sh. Same thing, sudo nano, and we need to add 2 lines, ideally at the very end before the test command. So yeah, simply copy paste it. It's an unset command. Paste. It's a nano, so same thing. Control O to write out, press enter, Control X to exit. So the configuration changes are done, and we have to make sure that we restart the XRDP service. Sudo systemctl enable XRDP. So this enable command ensures that whenever we launch the Ubuntu through WSL, the XRDP service will start during the boot time. So we enable it, and the next command is restart the service itself, because we have done the configuration changes. So it's best to ensure that the service is restarted. XRDP sudo systemctl restart XRDP. Okay, so at this point it's best to restart the Ubuntu virtual machine. So simply launch a new PowerShell and type the command wsl.exe -- terminate Ubuntu. So this command does a safe reboot. As you can see, the bash is exited and it's back to the PowerShell. So let's launch it again. So so we can launch it through the command line, but I'll also show a way to launch it through the UI. So if you go to start menu and search for Ubuntu, you can see an app available. So click on it and wait for the Ubuntu server to start. You can see it has got the bash. So at this point, going back to the blog, so this Ubuntu is started, and let's make sure that the service is available. Sudo systemctl status XRDP. Since we have enabled it, CTL, not CLT, CTL. Yeah, we can see the service is running. So at this point, I'm going to launch the remote desktop connection. So I'm going to connect to localhost 3390. So we have to remember to give the port, because we are not using the default port. It's a bumped up port. It's 3390, and expand the show options and ensure in the display we choose the full screen as the size. So yeah, you can choose any size you want, but I would strongly recommend to choose the full screen so that the whole desktop environment gives a seamless experience. And likewise, if you have dual screen or monitor, and if you want to make use of both screens for your Ubuntu, make sure you tick it. So in my case, I'm using single screen, so and the single screen is set to full screen. So click on collect and say OK. So you can see, so it asks for the XORG session to get initiated. So we have to type the same username that we have given to our Ubuntu virtual machine. So in my case, it's all lowercase Ubuntu is the username, and type your password. So the first time when we launch the remote desktop connection, that's when it starts a new session on the Ubuntu virtual machine. So it will take a while to load. So you can see this blank screen with some KDE logo. Yeah, but don't disconnect from the RDP. Just leave it as it is, and it will come back within a minute. So yeah, you can see that it flashed, and it's asking for the password again. And the reason for this password is the server is launched and it's available, but in order to connect to the internet, it has to make the network changes. So simply type your password, the Ubuntu password, and it will disappear. And as you can see, I have got the desktop environment, and at the same time, if I exit the full screen, I am back into the Windows. So if you have to work with Outlook or Teams and also need to jump to the development environment, we can do back and forth. And as you can see, the first thing we want to test is clipboard sharing between the Windows and Ubuntu. So this is the blog post. I'm going to copy the URL and go to the Ubuntu Desktop, go to the start menu and search for Chromium. Since we have installed the Chromium before we installed XRDP, it's available, and this is the first time I'm launching it. So first time when we launch a package, it's going to take some time. As you can see, Chromium has come up, and the good thing is the clipboard sharing is working. As you can see, I copied the URL from the Windows and I'm able to paste it in the Ubuntu. So the first check is working fine, and the next thing we want to ensure is the directory sharing. So by default, once you connect to RDP, the full directory sharing is enabled. So if you launch the file manager and maximize, it's in the mount directory. So if I go to the std and if I go to the mount, you can see the C directory, but it's a trick. So what I realized was, if I go to mount C, I don't see any files or folder, because I don't know whether it's Windows team or if it's Ubuntu, that they don't want to expose all the files from Windows to be available in Ubuntu if there is any file corruption. So what I realized was, for the very first time, launch the terminal. It's called console, in the KDE Plasma. So simply type open /mnt mount/c. So now you can see the files are visible, and the reason what I discovered was, although it says show full path, yeah, so now you can see it's not actually mount/c, it is mount WSLG distro mount. So if I open it through the terminal, the actual file path itself is mount C, where the actual files are available. You can see the program files and everything. So for convenience, what I used to do is go to the file, the menu, and more, you can see the full file option. And so since I'm in the C drive right now, file, not duplicate here. Okay, anyway, so the best way to launch it is go to the console, open /mount/c, and it's available. And if I unselect it, more file, yes, there it is. So since I had selected the program files, I didn't have this option. So just go to don't select any folder or directory. Go to the menu, go to more, file, add to places. So now you can see it's available here. So next time if we want to access the Windows directory, open the files explorer, and you can see it's available on the sidebar in the places, and then we can access all the files from Windows onto Ubuntu. So we have got the desktop environment, but we also want to compare how much hardware resources has been allocated to the Ubuntu virtual machine. So if I go to about this system, so you can see it has got the processor information, and it has got about 8 GB of RAM. So my Windows machine has got 16 GB of RAM, and you can see Windows, when we install it using WSL, it has allocated almost half of the RAM to the Ubuntu virtual machine. But if you do have more memory, most likely that you will have more RAM allocated to the Ubuntu, but it works reasonably fine. If I find a way how to tweak the memory allocation or hardware allocation between WSL, Ubuntu and Windows, I'll definitely post a video. For now, I'm just going with the default configuration. So having a file share between Windows and Ubuntu is very handy, but at the same time it's risky. For any reason, if we accidentally corrupt the Windows files, obviously the Windows host operating system is not going to be healthy or happy. So there are few options as well. By default, the full sharing is enabled, although the first time we have to use the open command to access the Windows directory. There are few safety nets available. For example, we can make the Windows files read-only by editing a file called etc/wsl.conf. We can set the option to read-only, and once we restart the Ubuntu, the changes will take effect. But also we have the option to completely isolate the Ubuntu virtual machine from Windows by disabling the auto mount, which means Ubuntu cannot access the Windows files if we disable the auto mount. And there is a middle ground. If we don't want to share the entire directory from Windows, we can simply create a directory called Windows shared, that we want to have only one shared directory between Windows and Ubuntu. So simply create a directory in your C drive or any other drive, and disable the auto mount by editing the command, and create a directory under mount directory with the same name, Windows shared, and make sure that it has got the read write executable permission for all users, and edit a file etc/fs tab and add this entry. So once this is done, and if the the Ubuntu is restarted, then we will not have the entire directory shared between Windows, but instead we will have one selected directory that will be like a common directory between Windows and Ubuntu, so that we still have the ability to share the large files, but at the same time we will not shoot ourselves by accidentally corrupting the Windows files and imported directories. So that's about the Windows and WSL with Ubuntu Desktop. And since it is a proper desktop environment, we can install IDEs like VS Code or Atom or IntelliJ or PyCharm or any IDE that you like. And so my choice is, rather than having the Ubuntu on command line, I would prefer to directly jump onto the Ubuntu environment itself for all my development activities, and simply limit the usage of Windows only for Outlook or Teams or any non-development activities. So as you can see, once we are in the software center, we can install hopefully VS Code should be there, or at least Codium. Yeah, the Codium, it's the open source form of VS Code without any Microsoft related plugins or extensions. And hopefully there should be a PyCharm. Yeah, PyCharm is available, and likewise IntelliJ IDEA is also available. So yeah, please feel free to install any GUI applications or packages, and they will be available on the start menu. On an extended note, if we want to allocate more memory from the Windows to the WSL Ubuntu, as we had seen before, it allocates only 50% by default. So I looked at the advanced configuration for the WSL, and we can adjust the memory allocation from Windows to Ubuntu by editing a file in this location of Windows user, and this contains the key, the memory. By default you can see it allocates 50%. So what I'm going to do is create a file with this value. WSL2 is the section, and memory I set it as 12 GB. Since my machine has got 16 GB of RAM, I want to allocate more resources to the Ubuntu virtual machine. So this file I'm going to save it. While saving, first I have to go to the user profile, %user profile, navigate, and the file name is .wsl config. So make sure that there is no text extension to it. It's simply .wsl under the user profile directory. So let's save it, and once we save it, we have to restart the whole WSL. So make sure that if the Ubuntu is already running, terminate the Ubuntu, WSL, terminate the Ubuntu, and also wsl.exe -- shutdown. So shut down the whole WSL service, and then restart it again. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, since we have configured as 12 GB of RAM, we should be able to see it through the remote desktop connection. Connect, and we are into the full screen mode. So yeah, let's go to the about section, and hopefully we should see. Yeah, last time we were able to see only 8 GB of RAM, but now we are able to see up to 12 GB of RAM for the Ubuntu virtual machine. So based on this, we can either reduce the memory allocation, or we can increase the memory allocation if we have more spare memory on Windows if we don't use it. Thank you. And yeah, as a final note, if we have to shut down the Ubuntu, simply close the remote desktop connection and open a new terminal which is not within the bash. Open a new PowerShell as usual, wsl.exe -- terminate Ubuntu. That shuts down the Ubuntu virtual machine. Job done. Yeah, this has come out as well. Yeah, thanks for watching.